From the depths of cold, silent waters, they watched their race obliterate itself. As their empire crumbled and died, they retreated into the watery abyss of Burbasla and remained until that traumatic memory had faded away. Within their nadir, they not only altered their physical forms, but also their philosophies and their collective spirits. When they finally emerged, they came to a galaxy reshaped and unfamiliar, teeming with curious life forms, and the scars of their ancient cousins a home to faith and fear. The Amoeba are an offshoot of the concrete endless that made a home on the planet Burbasla. Burbasla is an ocean world rich in biodiversity, but it also lacks a molten core, meaning that it doesn't have continental shifts, tectonic plates, or a magnetic field. However, possibly due to the concurrent dust wars, or perhaps because of their ancestors' natural saturation, Burbasla is also soaked in dust. If we take a close look at any of the amoeba, we can recognize the signs of dust. In this case, dust has created a kind of subdermal circuit board. Perhaps it is due to this biologic integration with dust that has enabled the amoeba to detach their consciousnesses from their bodies. The amoeba differ from the virtual endless in this ability by being able to reattach their consciousness at will. The amoeba share quite a lot in common with the endless, if not their appearance. As I've mentioned a couple of times, they share ancestry with a subgroup of the concrete endless. Now, there's a number of ways to interpret this. One, that they were once concrete endless who took refuge on Burbasla. Or that they were a splinter faction of the concrete endless that operated from Burbasla. Or, my personal favourite, the concrete endless simply refers to a time when the endless had physical forms, and that they were instead a subgroup of the endless, in this case, the Ea. I spoke of this in my Who Are the Endless video, but I will very quickly summarise the important bit. Before they were the endless, they were the Taurians, and the Taurians were made up of 3 distinct identities and cultures: the Tandu, the Hayden, and the Ur. The Ur were sea dwellers who were arguably mostly to blame for the destruction of Tur due to their deep sea drilling activities. When Tur was destroyed, billions of Ur were killed, but those that survived then suffered trying to adapt to space-borne living. Although we are told that they then went through a difficult period known as the Wars of Alteration, it isn't beyond the scope of imagination that a group of Ur, altered or not, made a home on Burbasla, returning to a place almost like home. But regardless of their origin, it was only when the concrete and virtual endless began their self-obliteration that they began to devolve and become the protozoic amoeba. The amoeba clearly have quite delicate forms. Although somewhat enhanced by dust, they are still exceptionally vulnerable to relatively minor changes to their environment. Therefore, at some point during their devolution and re-evolution, the innate need to control their surroundings developed. To achieve this, The amoeba became naturally talented at making the most out of Bobasla and other ocean worlds, developed exploration ships with low industrial impact yet high mobility and defense at the expense of weaponry, or lack thereof, and began to develop an almost martial artistry out of diplomacy and trade agreements. The amoeba's impressive strength on the diplomatic battlefield is due to their separation of consciousness to form independent groupthinks, and their innate, if sometimes feigned, empathy. Despite the amoeba typically tending towards pacifism and diplomatic approaches to conflict, they are not a monolith. Some amoeba have been known to go into berserker-like rages, captain pirate ships, and vanish into the depths of space for exploration. Through their skills and experiences, the amoeba, individually, have been able to master how to cooperate with every faction in the galaxy. We can see this in their ability to ally the Sophons using a display of unique tech. Aura Cygna shows us that the amoeba aren't above dominating and forcing smaller factions into subjugation if needs be. One Who Seeks lives a life that would have made even John McAfee shocked, but was also able to find camaraderie and understanding amongst the warmongering and the scientists alike. The amoeba have lived a long and detached life within their deep seas, but having now taken one of many steps into the galaxy once again, they have positioned themselves as the greatest warriors on the galactic oratory battlefield, but also as avid conservationists and connoisseurs. In Endless Space 2, although the amoeba take on a smaller role in the narrative, their function within a particular empire is to serve as superlative producers, influential diplomats, and biological terraformers to put the sowers to shame. But if we consider that the amoeba are descendants of the Endless that have taken upon themselves a more fragile form, and erased from their collective memories the trauma and thus the knowledge of the Dust Wars, we can only wonder, what would happen if they remembered everything? Thank you for watching, everybody. Just to keep you all informed, I am now working on 2 videos to follow this one, and I'm not 100% sure on which one will be the one that comes out first. One is looking to be towards 30 minutes long, and the other will be, well, maybe 9-ish minutes or less. I also wanted to say thank you so much for the wave of support for my last video. There's nothing that gets me giddy than waking up to 1,000 views on a video. It feels real good. Leave a comment about what you think might happen should the amoeba remember their ancestral memories. Don't forget to give this video a like if you liked it, and subscribe and toggle the bell to get notifications when the next video is released. Right, see you later and have a great day.